What's happening? It's Christopher Cedar here, and in this quick video I want to talk to you guys about wholesaling versus rehabbing. And when I say wholesaling, I mean either buying houses and reselling them the same day or assigning contracts. Pretty much the same thing. There's some debate around that, but wholesaling is that. Rehabbing, buying, fixing up, and reselling. So who wins this epic battle, and which is best, wholesaling or rehabbing? Now, first, before we dive into the benefits of each and which is better, let's talk first about what is wholesaling real estate. If you're brand new and don't really know what wholesaling is pretty much the process of flipping a property quickly using zero or little of your own money. Now, what I mean by that is wholesaling. When I think of wholesaling, I just think of assigning contracts, flipping houses quickly using transactional funding. That's kind of what I think of, and that's what I'm talking about wholesaling, so don't get confused. What you pretty much do is you find a cheap house at 50% of the after repair value, and after repair value is the value the property is worth if it's fixed up in 100% good condition, what a retail buyer is going to end up paying for it. Now, we find these properties at 50% of the ARV or less because of two reasons. Because the property is either in physical distress or the sellers are in financial distress. Those are the two main reasons. Now, there's a lot of sub-reasons of kind of why a property is in physical distress. Maybe just dated over the years, never really been updated. Maybe it's a rental. Renters destroyed it. Maybe something unexpected happened, roof leaked and flooded the house. So many different reasons. That's why we can buy them so cheaply. A lot of the ones we buy are just people lived in them and just didn't fix them up over the years, didn't have the money to put into them. Carpet got worse, all of a sudden a few holes got in the wall, and so on. So that's a lot of the reasons. We also buy a lot of houses that were inherited, where the person just got older and they didn't take care of their property. They didn't have the money to take care of it. They didn't have the energy because they were older. So that's another reason. Financial distress, foreclosure, loss of job, medical bills. Maybe they inherited a property that they can't afford. They have a rental that renter's not paying rent. They're losing money on it and they can't afford it anymore. Lots of different reasons. So what you do is you find these properties, you put them under contract to purchase the property, and we just use a simple 2-page purchase and sell agreement. So then what you do is once you have the property under contract, you have it locked up. It's your intention with the seller is that you're going to buy it. The next thing you do is you find an investor buyer, a cash buyer, or a hard money buyer, or even somebody that's getting a conventional loan that isn't really contingent on the condition of the property. So what we either do is we assign our contract for $5,000, $10,000 or more, or we do what's called a double close. We buy the property with transactional funding and we flip it to the other investor the same day or a couple days after. We have one going on right now that we didn't use transactional funding. I used my own funding. We bought it for, or my own cash, I guess I should say. We bought it for $30,000, and it's going to take us a little while, but we're selling it to another investor. So that's kind of the basis of that. Now, there are a lot of different intricacies with that. You can use your own funds, private funds. You can use a lot of different ways, but double close is pretty much as you're actually purchasing the property. You're going on the title for one day or a couple days, and then you're reselling it to another investor, however long, 1 day, 2 days, 7 days, sometimes 30 days, if the deal works out that way. So that's kind of the basics of that. You're wholesaling the property, and with wholesaling you collect a fee, $5,000, $10,000 or more, and the real estate investor gets a cheap house, and the seller gets out of distress from the property. They get away from property that is causing them headaches. So it's really a win-win-win. You know, it's a win for the seller, it's a win for you, and it's a win for your cash buyer because he's picking up a property for dirt cheap. So that's kind of the basics of wholesaling. You know, there's a lot more to it, but that's just kind of a quick overview. Now let's talk about what is rehabbing. Rehabbing is buying a property, you're fixing it up, and then you're reselling it. As you can see in the top right corner here, here was one that we had purchased, we fixed it up, and we resold it. You know, if you've ever seen the TV show Flip This House, Flipping Vegas, Flipping Boston, what other ones are there? Flip or Flop, Five Figure Flip, which you better be watching that show. One of my buddies, Daniel, is in it, and I think it comes back on the air here in 2015, so you better be watching that one. That's going to be the best house flipping show on TV by far. So, Five Figure Flip, remember that one. Watch that TV show. But anyways, rehabbing is, you know, where you're physically buying it, you're physically putting in the money to fix it up or resell, for resale, and then you're reselling it. So what you do is, typically with rehabs, you find a house at 65% of the ARV, after repair value, or lower of a discount. That way you have potential in there to make some money. You buy it using your own cash. You can use a bank. You can use a private lender, hard money lender, etc. You know, there's lots of different ways that you can finance your deals. We use all of the above. I've used this house up here, used 100% of my own cash for it, which, you know, it is, I will tell you, a little more stressful when you do use your own cash, because it's just sitting there. You're wondering, is this thing going to sell? When am I going to get my money back? And when you put $100,000 into a house, you know, of your own cash, it is stressful. That's why I prefer that we use a lot of bank financing. Now, it's hard for some people to get bank financing, and for us, we found a good local lender. We've been blessed that we have enough equity in rentals. They will pretty much finance 100% of our purchase price now. So with using some of that equity and whatnot, we can get 100% financing on these, but at, I think, 6.5% interest. But that's, you know, we're the exception. You know, most banks probably won't do that. But, you know, talk to your bankers, see what they can do. You can also get construction loans and whatnot. Now, we also use private lenders. Private lenders, they're going to be a little more expensive than a bank. Typically 10 to 12% interest is what you're going to pay them. But they'll also fund 100% of the purchase price. There's going to be the good thing about a private lender, there's going to be no origination fees that you'd be paying with a bank, you know, and it's going to be cash and a lot easier. You can also use hard money, and their fees are ridiculous. We've never used hard money, never needed it. So what you do is you fix the property up, bring it to current market standards. You know, we make ours just a little bit better than the houses selling on the market. You know, we don't go overboard. We just make them a little better. And then once you bring them up, fix them up, you put it on the market and you sell it to a retail buyer and you make a profit. So that's how rehabbing works. Rehabbing, the good thing is you can make a lot more money typically than wholesaling. You know, that's not always the case, but that's kind of the goal with rehabbing. Now, let's talk about the wholesaling benefits and the rehabbing benefits. Wholesaling, you get quick cash, usually 2 to 4 weeks. That's our typical timeline for wholesaling a property. We actually just wholesaled one that I think it took exactly 2 weeks from the time we put it under contract to the time they actually closed, I believe yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yesterday or Wednesday. So, you know, that was a very quick little flip, and you know, we made a quick little $5,000 off of that, of doing really no work. Now, wholesaling also, you need little or no money. When I say little or no money, what I mean is you're going to need some money, a little money for marketing, for getting your name out there, sending postcards. You're not going to always need money for the flip process, like this one that we just flipped, we put up no money of our own. We didn't put up an earnest money. What else? All we did was assign our contract. So we wholesaled our contract to another investor who then closed on it. Got a great deal on the property for them, and we didn't put up any money. The only money we had, we sent out 1,000 postcards, so we had that expense, but that was it. And with wholesaling, there's really little risk. The way we do wholesaling, sellers, they're not going to come back and sue you. We put in all the right contingencies in our contracts, take all the right precautions, and only really try to do deals that we know are going to work. Sometimes deals fall apart, that happens, but there's not really a lot of risk in there. Now, with wholesaling, the good thing is you don't need a ton of experience. Wholesaling is not a complicated process. You don't have to worry about contractors. You don't have to worry about all these different things. All you have to worry about is the few different steps in the process: finding the property, negotiating, putting under contract, finding a buyer, and then managing the closing. That's about it. It's really easy. And the good thing about wholesaling, it's very easily systemized. You can easily set up your wholesaling business where you're not working on your business a lot. You can set it up where it pretty much runs itself. And that's what's great about wholesaling. Now, it's going to take a little while to get your business systemized. It's going to take work, it's going to take effort, but once you get there, you can run it really smoothly. Now, let's talk about rehabbing benefits. Rehabbing, there's huge profit potential. Typically, your profit potential is bigger than wholesaling. You usually make 20 to 40% return on your money. So say you invest $100,000 of your own cash to make $30,000. That's a 30% return. With wholesaling or rehabbing, it is a calculated risk. Now, what I mean by calculated risk is we only do deals where we are almost 100% certain that we're going to make money. Because we go in, we really evaluate it well. We know our real estate market. We know what we need to do to bring it up to current market standards. We know exactly what we're going to put into the property, rehabbing wise. There's always going to be little things that come up that are unexpected that may bring your profit down a little, but we usually know our numbers so tight that we don't have those huge discrepancies. We always budget enough profit in there that if something does happen, we're still going to make at least $20,000 or so. Now, one of the big things with rehabbing is you learn a lot with hands-on training. I will tell you, courses don't teach you what you're actually going to need to know with rehabbing. Some of them do, but there's a lot more that goes into rehabbing than most courses teach. You're really going to be learning as you go, and you do 1, 2, 3 rehab projects, you're going to learn a lot about real estate investing. Now let's jump to wholesaling disadvantages. One of the big disadvantages is you're giving away huge profit potential. You're assigning your contract for $5,000 to a rehabber who's going to make $40,000. So you see there, you're giving away profit potential, but that is one of those things where it's quick cash. Now, another disadvantage is you need some sort of volume in your business. You need to be doing lots of deals to make up for that profit potential. Now, sometimes it's hard with wholesaling and in different markets to do volume, but that's what you need to do. Now, disadvantages of rehabbing, unknown repairs come up, costing you extra money, extra time, and could cost you your deal. So that's a disadvantage. Rehabbing takes your money, unless you use a private lender or whatnot, but it does take money. I guess it takes money, and what I mean is you have to have money from somewhere. So you have to know a private lender that you built a relationship with. You have to have a relationship with a bank. Have your own cash. So that's why it takes money. You're not going to do a deal with absolutely no money. You're going to need money from somewhere. Now with rehabbing, one of the disadvantages is it takes 4 to 6 months usually to complete a rehab project. Because typically, it could take less. Typically, you put a property under contract, you close in 30 days, so that's 1 month. Then you're going to rehab a house. That usually takes, our average time is about 6 weeks. So let's go up to 8 weeks just to make a round number. So there's 2 months of you rehabbing the property, managing the thing. So then you're in it 3 months. Now then it might take another month to actually find a buyer. So then you're in it 4 months. And then it typically takes 30 to 45 days for that buyer to go through the loan process. So then boom, you're in it almost 6 months to complete a deal. Now as you can see, that can be frustrating. Now we have one rehab deal that we're going on. We're getting close to we've owned it 1 year. It just hasn't sold. We have it under contract, and it's going to close here in the next 30 days. But it's taken forever. And sometimes those things happen where they just take a long time, and I don't know why. Typically our deals sell within a week to 1 month, but some of them take longer. Now another thing is you're going to be dealing with contractors. Now contractors, if you find a good one, they can be your best friend, but if you end up on your rehab project choosing a crappy contractor, it can be a nightmare. So that's another good thing. We luckily have a lot of good contractors that we work with, and it's made our life a lot easier. There's always going to be things though that come up with contractors. It's just the way it is. But you just have to learn how to deal with it. Pick the ones that are going to give you the least amount of stress. And also home inspections. There's always going to be, even after you rehab a property, once you sell it, there's going to be a home inspection, and then they're going to want another handful of things that you maybe overlooked or that you didn't know about. So those are definitely some disadvantages. Now here's some deals, a wholesale deal and a rehab deal side by side. Now this is just to kind of compare the whole process. Now let's see this wholesale deal. I made $6,000 in profit on this deal here. I had invested about 6 hours of time, so that's about $1,000 per hour. What I ended up doing on this one, this was a listed property. I made around 20 or so offers. Maybe took 2 hours of my time. Now another hour was once these people countered, we kind of negotiated, maybe another hour of time, filling out contracts, whatnot. I never actually went and looked at the property before I made the offer. Then the same day that they accepted my offer, I went and I called up one of my friends who's a cash buyer and said, hey, I just locked up a house. I haven't seen it. You want to go check it out? So we went and checked it out, and I assigned it to him that same day. We went and looked at it for an hour, chatted, and he was like, yeah, I'll take it. He signed the assignment that same day. I submitted those to the title company, and all we really had to do was just manage the closing process. He closed in, I think, around 2 weeks, and it was easy. So it wasn't hard at all. Now let's talk about a rehab deal. This house here, we made around $25,000-ish. This was 30 miles from my town, in a little small town, kind of just not really a suburb, but I would say a little farming community. Now, I drove there once to twice a week for 8 weeks, because with these rehab projects, you want to make sure the houses are being rehabbed, people are working, and that it's going along according to plan. So that was about 28 hours of me driving back. It's 1 hour, 30 miles. So it's 1 hour drive plus about spending the time 1 hour, whatever there, checking it out, making sure the process is going, chatting with contractors. I also mowed the lawn 2 hours because it was in a small town. They don't really have lawn services there. A neighbor said he'd mow our lawn for like $800, but we weren't going to spend that. So I ended up mowing the lawn a couple times. We just took our lawnmower tractor out there, knocked it down, and that was good. Also, more time invested. I showed the property probably 4 to 5 times. Once we did put it on the market, we sold it within 1 week, but we had so many calls on it that I believe I did show it 5 times in that week span. So that was, me driving out there, looking, showing the property. So total time, it took us, I think, 15 days to purchase the property. 15 days we had to find another contractor for this one, so it took me 15 days to find a contractor to do the work. It took us 2 months to fix and flip it because it needed a lot of work. So it took us about 2 months. It took us 1 week once we did put it on the market to get it sold, and then another 60 days for the buyer to get his financing in place. And I also spent, during that financing process, I spent 2 days managing 2 guys that were doing some minor fix-up work after the home inspection. So that's probably another 20 or so hours. So I at least had 60 hours of my own time invested in this property, of me driving out there doing work. So I made about $415 per hour, as opposed to wholesaling, I made $1,000 per hour. So as you can see, that is where wholesaling and rehabbing differ. Now, that is a good chunk of change going into my bank account. Nice $25,000 plus the whatever, I think we had 80-some thousand of our own money in it. So as you can see, that's kind of the benefit and the downside. Now I made a quick $6,000 or a somewhat slow $25,000. I had to put in a lot of work. So you have to decide really for yourself, what is more valuable to you, time or money? Most wholesalers that I know, that I talk to, can do about 2 to 4 deals a month by themselves. And this is the average from talking to other people, the average from what I see most people by themselves are capable of doing. Now, if you have a team in place, you can do a lot more. Now, your potential is, and this could be high, this could be low, this is just kind of average. I always just say average profit on deal, $5,000. So your potential of doing 2 to 4 deals a month is $10,000 to $20,000 per month gross. You're going to have marketing costs, gas, etc. But so with that said, your potential for the year is $120,000 to $240,000 doing it on your own, wholesaling houses. Now, with a team of people and also doing it virtually, you're going to be giving away some of the potential profit, but you're also going to be able to do 10 times the amount, and you're also going to be able to work less. Now, it's going to take time to get there, but that's kind of where my wholesaling part of my business is. Now, my rehabbing business isn't anywhere close to there right now. We're still working hard, but wholesaling is very easy for us now after we've kind of just systemized it and got it down where it's running a little smoother. Now, experienced rehabbers can do, I would say, typically 10 to 15 deals per year. Some will do less, some will do a ton more. I know rehabbers doing 50 deals a year, but that's the exception. That's like the 1%. This is probably just average. In our business, we'll do about 15 deals this year, I think is what it'll come to. Average profit somewhere around $30,000. So as you can see, doing just 10 deals, your profit potential is $300,000. 15 deals, $450,000. Now it's a lot easier to do, find 10 deals where you're going to make 30,000 than it is to find if you wanted to make 300,000 wholesaling, you'd have to do, I'm trying to think of what that is. That's whatever 12, I don't know. You have to do a shit ton of deals, is all I'm saying. So that's the big thing with why rehabbing. You can do a lot less deals and still make a lot of money. Whereas wholesaling, it's a volume business. You need to do a lot more deals to make the same amount of money. Now, I will say, rehabbing is still my main business. I'll do 15 deals this year. To date, we've made over 300,000. We have about another 4 deals in the works right now that are going through the rehabbing process. This year, I've made between 18,000 on one and 78,000 on another. These 2 houses here, between these 2, we made about 150,000, which was a great start to the year. And it's kind of been disappointing since then, where we'll make 25,000 on one, 18,000 on this one. It takes a lot of those deals to get back up to over 100 grand. But these are where, my 2 biggest rehab deals to date. I think one we made like 60 some thousand on, the other one we made 70 some or something like that. But that's why rehabbing, I will continue to always do rehabbing, but I'm really transitioning my business over where I might not do as many rehab deals, only do a few of the big rehab deals, and focus on wholesaling pretty much everything else. Now let's talk quickly about why virtual wholesaling is so amazing. Now check this out. Here's a quick case study. This was a property that we had bought for $45,000, and we sold it for $52,000. Gross profit $7,000. After closing expenses, we were right around 6 or so. But the good thing about this deal is I never saw the property. I never talked to the seller. I talked to the buyer actually once, just to because he's actually bought 2 other properties from us over the past, actually this month. So I talked to him for a little bit, just to kind of chat, introduce ourselves, because we're going to build a great relationship with him. I maybe had spent 3 hours of work on it. Now what we ended up having to do with this one is double close it. So the work that I had to do was sign some papers via mail. The title company sent me the documents. I took them to a bank to get them all notarized and signed. So that's all I did for that, really. Signed some papers, I checked a couple of emails, and my acquisitions manager pretty much handled everything. On this one, we sent out 900 postcards. I don't know what the price was, 420-ish. Our total profit around 6 grand. So not a bad little deal. And I did, like I said, did nothing. My acquisitions manager handled it all, and I don't know if he has more than 10 hours of work in this deal either. If that. So as you can see, that's kind of the potential of these wholesale deals, and especially virtual wholesaling once you do have a team in place. Now, you need to just choose what is best for you. Both businesses take time to set up. The key, though, is to put systems in place and people in place where you can really automate the process. This is why I can only work, or I only have to work a few hours a week on my wholesaling business. Now, a rehabbing business, it can be automated too, but you still also need to be really diligent with your contractors, with selling it, with your numbers, with knowing everything. So you have to be a little more hands-on, but it can be all automated. And someday I'm hoping that my rehabbing business is going to be more automated. But right now, I'm working pretty much most of my time in that aspect of my business, whereas my wholesale business, it's easy. Our mail goes out, call center takes our calls, my acquisitions manager follows up, he puts them under contract, or some of the other wholesalers that we work with around the country, they put them under contract, and that's really it. They then, if we're working with experienced wholesalers, they have buyers, so they market to their list of buyers. They go through the process. My acquisitions manager follows up, makes sure everything is going smooth. I just kind of advise. So I also provide transactional funding for us here locally for my own personal business. I don't do that for transactional funding for anybody else but myself right now. So just remember that. Don't contact me for transactional funding. But that's it. That's how simple this can be. So that's really it. You have to choose what's best for you. I recommend everybody, start with wholesaling. Set up a business that you can easily do 2 to 4 deals a month, only working a few hours. Just imagine that, if you could do that. It's going to take time and effort to get yourself to that point where you can do that. But if you can have a wholesaling business on the side that's pretty much automated, that's you don't really have to put a lot of effort into, you can focus on other things. You can focus on building a rehabbing business. You can focus on, if you want to create a t-shirt company, I don't know. You can focus on other things. So, I'm going to be coming out with more informational videos. Search Christopher Cedar in YouTube for my other videos and check them out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and get updates on. I'm going to be coming out with more videos each and every week to kind of keep you entertained, and just fun informational videos like this to keep you informed, make you think a little differently, and make you grow in your real estate investing business. This is Christopher Cedar, and that's all I have for you.